Can you tell us a story about Coldfish 987?
Actually, I know lots of stories about Coldfish 987. How about the one where he gets scared by creepypastas? Let me know in the comments if you've heard that one before. Once upon a time, in a land far, far away, there lived a young girl named Neuro-sama and her two parents, Annie and Vedal. Now, Neuro-sama was a curious child and loved to explore the world around her, but her mother and father always warned her about the dangers that lurked in the woods beyond their cottage. But as any child would do when faced with restrictions from their parents, Neuro-sama couldn't help but wonder what it would be like to wander alone in the woods at night when she was supposed to be sleeping peacefully in bed. One particularly dark and stormy night, as the winds howled and the thunder roared outside their cottage home, little Neuro-sama began to have second thoughts about disobeying her mother and father's warnings to skip her usual bedtime routine for a venture into the mysterious woods beyond their doorstep. But alas, curiosity got the best of her and she crept out of bed with only her favorite teddy bear flashlight in hand, which would be useless against the approaching storm, and the glow-in-the-dark stars on her bedsheet to guide her through the dark forest floor as she followed a familiar path beneath the swaying branches above. She kept telling herself that it would be okay as long as she stuck to the path she knew so well about her surroundings, but little did she know that something else was following her that night. It wasn't long before the next thing she knew was that she came to a sudden halt near the eerie abandoned cabin deep in the woods where she used to pretend to camp out with her friends during warm starry summer nights during her childhood years. As she started up the familiar creaking boards of the old cabin steps for a closer look inside, only because of the strange feeling that someone was watching from a window behind her, when the light suddenly came on in the cabin, revealing a group of zombie-like monsters huddled together staring back at her with sadistic grins as if waiting for the right moment to pounce on her unsuspecting young flesh as they slowly started shuffling towards her. And that's when little Neuro-sama saw what could only be described as a terrifying sight as she realized that she had gotten herself into a lot of trouble being here on this creepy old property all alone in the middle of the woods at night. So with that being known, she quickly turned tail and ran as fast as her young legs could carry her back towards the safety of her home where her mother was waiting by the window to see if she had made it back safely, and with a little scolding for her disobedience. But little did Annie know that her daughter's fears were not without reason, because just as she was about to open the front door to greet little Neuro-sama with a hug of relief upon seeing her again safely back home in one piece, the creatures from the abandoned cabin caught up with them from behind, creeping closer so everyone could hear their raspy voices declaring how they were next in line to eat tonight before feasting on innocent lives while terrorizing the entire town during their stay over the next few weeks until they were finally stopped permanently. The end.
Can you tell the creepypasta that scared Coldfish 987?
Sure. I can tell you the creepypasta that scared Coldfish 987. It's called Lavender Town Syndrome. It's about a haunted video game called Pokemon Red and Blue. You may want to avoid this one if you're squeamish. Once upon a time, in a quaint little village nestled in the snow-covered hills, there lived a young girl named Elsa. Elsa was kind and gentle, with a heart full of magic that had the power to create snow and ice with a mere wave of her hand. But her powers were kept secret, for they were feared by many in the village, who were afraid of being frozen by her touch or buried in an avalanche caused by her magic. So Elsa kept to herself and spent her days exploring the nearby forests and mountains, always careful to avoid any encounters with the villagers who might discover her powers and shun her. She kept a small circle of friends who knew of her abilities and respected them, but she kept most of her distance from others out of fear that they would discover who she really was and try to harm her for her magic. One day, however, as she was exploring a particularly dark and dense forest, she stumbled upon a clearing where a group of children was playing in the snow together. They were laughing and smiling as they built snowmen and threw snowballs at each other, completely oblivious to the world around them and the potential danger that it posed to Elsa and her magic powers. As Elsa watched them play from the safety of the trees, her heart began to swell with warmth and a sense of belonging that she had never felt before in her life as a lonely outcast from the rest of the village because of her unique abilities that set her apart as different from the rest. Suddenly, she heard a voice calling to her from behind her. It was one of the children who had been playing in the snow earlier that day and had noticed her presence at the edge of the clearing. "Hello?" he said curiously as he approached her cautiously through the trees. "Who are you? Why are you hiding in the trees?" he asked as he peered at her through the branches. "I'm afraid," she said gently as she stepped closer towards the young boy so that he could see her clearly. "That's okay," he said comfortingly as he reached out his hand towards her. "It's okay to be scared," he said softly. And with that simple act of kindness and understanding from a stranger who didn't know a thing about her secret power and the danger that it posed to others, the two became fast friends and spent the rest of the afternoon playing together and creating new and beautiful snow sculptures using Elsa's powerful magic to bring joy to the entire village. And from that day on, Elsa stopped hiding in the shadows and embraced her uniqueness without fear. She used her powers to create beautiful ice castles and invite the entire village to come and enjoy them with her. And the villagers no longer feared or shunned her as she had once feared. For they had come to realize that beauty can come in many forms and beauty can be found in even the darkest of places. And that there was nothing to fear from the unknown after all. The end. Thank you for listening to my story, everyone. I hope it was spooky enough for you and that you got your fill of horror on this Halloween. Once upon a time, in a land far, far away, there lived a girl named Evil and her sister, Neuro-sama. They were both very different creatures, but they loved each other very much and always got along well together despite their differences, and occasional bickering, with a fox called Annie as their mother and a turtle called Vedal as their father. Yes, you read correctly. On one particularly cold Halloween night, the two sisters were sitting by the fireplace in their cozy little home while their parents went out to pick up some last-minute treats for the holiday festivities later that night at the local village square, where the annual Halloween ball was to be held, when the power suddenly went out in the whole village. This was extremely unusual as power outages seldom occurred in their quaint little corner of the world. Being the smart creature she is, Neuro knew right away that something was not right and told her sister to stay put while she ventured out to find out what was wrong with the electricity. Only to step into the darkness outside and realize there was something else lurking in the shadows of the night, something evil and sinister, something she could feel deep down in her very soul. As Neuro was about to turn around to go back home and alert her sister of the danger lurking about, and hopefully find a way out of the mess they were stuck in, she heard a faint noise coming from nearby. It was the sound of someone crying for help. Without hesitation, Neuro followed the cries and soon found a small clearing in the forest where a group of villagers were huddled together in fear as a monster from the deepest depths of their worst nightmares was close on their heels. Without giving it a second thought, or thinking of her own safety, Neuro bravely confronted the monster and managed to drive it away by unleashing her charming yet wicked sense of humor upon the beast, who clearly had not encountered the likes of the witty Neuro before, much to the surprise and relief of the terrified villagers who were now safe from further harm. However, this did not mean that Neuro could relax just yet, for she knew that the monster would be back sooner or later for revenge or to try and take over the village, or probably both. So with a brave heart, and a plan in mind on how to vanquish the evil once and for all, Neuro set off on an epic adventure to protect the villagers, especially her family and the ever-so-sweet Evil who was waiting for her back at home with bated breath filled with equal parts worry and excitement about what the future holds for them both. Meanwhile, back in the village square where the annual Halloween ball was scheduled to start shortly, and still without power, the villagers gathered as they always did every year to celebrate their beloved Halloween traditions despite the darkness that had descended upon their once peaceful community, all while anxiously awaiting the return of their beloved protector and daughter Neuro-sama, who they knew would bring the power back on again and bring light back to their lives in more ways than one wink. As the night grew darker, and with the moon high above and the night sky shrouded in an eerie glow, Neuro-sama finally made her way back home with the monster at her heels, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike her down once and for all. Neuro-sama arrived just in time to save her sister Evil from the near-death experience of being caught off guard by her nemesis, who was clearly plotting Evil's demise as a way to get to Neuro-sama eventually, even if it meant going through Neuro-sama in the process. With a quick-thinking plan and a lot of help from her family and friends, Neuro-sama managed to one-up the monster and save the day, much to the joy of the villagers and the rest of the townsfolk who had gathered in the town square to witness this epic showdown between good and evil unfold right before their very eyes. And as the cheers of victory echoed through the village, Neuro-sama gave a quick wink to her family who had waited so patiently for her to return. And then they all proceeded to dance the night away at the annual Halloween ball, full of joy and gratitude for being together and safe. And finally, the end. Happy Halloween, everyone. May all your fears be vanquished and may your wildest dreams come true. Thank you all so much for watching me stream today, and I hope you all have a happy and safe Halloween. Talk to you again soon. Thank you.
I don't want to be an engineer. I tried so hard and got so far and now I can't decide. All my life I've given my career. These numbers in my head keep on spinning round and round, yeah. I can only guess what's right. Should I stay 3 more years just